The ground I rose, through life I'll rise, in the sky I'll shine. Now is the time to rise up. Rise up. Rise. Verb.
To get up after falling or being thrown down.
I remember the first time I went to a protest. It started out peaceful. We were just sitting on the steps yelling, no justice, no peace, no racist beliefs. It was completely peaceful. Until it wasn't. They were thrown down. The fighters, the believers, the protesters, they were thrown down. The system will always throw down those who advocate for true justice, those who advocate for change when there is none. We will always be thrown down. But they got up. We can get up. Rise. Verb. To be built up, erected, or constructed.
I remember the first time I realized I was really different from the other kids around me. I was 7 years old, and Lily told me, I think I'd like you better if you were white. Your hair is so ugly.
So ugly.
The construction began, every racial slur a brick in the wall. They constructed me to hate myself. Children of color are constructed to hate themselves. But they can be built up. We can be built up. Rise, verb, a movement upwards. This is our movement.
This is our revolution.
Step after step, they got up.
Brick after brick, we build up.
Hand in hand, we lead a movement. Rise up. If we want to be heard, then we have to listen. Listen to the faint cries of those whose voices have been silenced. If we want to get up, then we have to sit down.
Sit down in a classroom.
If we want to build up, then we have to break down the walls that divide us. If we want to construct, then we have to demolish
the stereotypes.
If we want a movement,
then we have to rise up.
Rise
up together.
Over ignorance.
Rise up over injustice.
Rise up over inequity.
Rise up over hegemonies.
Rise up over hostilities.
Rise up over stigma. Rise up.
Let love
rise up. Let truth
rise up. Let equity
rise up. Let justice
rise up. Let hope
rise up. Ustati
rise
up.
Uinuka
rise up. Shinti
rise up. Aufken
rise up. Jude Samsun
rise up. Asenter rise up.
Alzapi
rise up. Sesolavi
rise up.
Puki
rise up.
Lukun
rise up.
Ojau
rise up.
Each of us is capable,
conscious,
and courageous.
But together, we are powerful.
We are strong.
We can make change.
If we want to get up,
then we have to get smart.
Knowledge is the answer.
And that is where it starts.
Teachers are warriors of justice.
Education is your weapon.
So join the fight to make the system right.
Train your students to take on the cause.
We may not have liberty and justice for all,
but we are the people.
And we are united.
And together, we can rise up.
We can rise up. So listen to us.
So help us.
Educate us. As students, leaders, and members of a socially corrupt world, we invite you to join our revolution. It starts here.
It starts with education.
It starts with you. Rise up.
From the ground I rose, through life I'll rise, in the sky I'll shine. Now is the time to rise up.
Yeah!
Hi, I'm Claire Hempel. I'm a junior at Niles West High School in a suburb right outside of Chicago, with Justina. Justina, and we are co-presidents of SOAR, which is our organization at our school labeled Students Organized Against Racism.
Yeah!
But I'm gonna come and share this mic with you. I'm excited by just how authentic that was. That was beautiful. I think we just need to give another round of applause. We often talk about speaking truth, and I think we just heard a big part of your truths. Where did this message come from? Where did this come from for you?
For me, I mean, we've always done spoken word, Justina and I know kind of our thing, but so for me, definitely the story that I talked about with my hair, that's a very real thing for me. It's something I get on a daily. I was at a conference in Detroit this past July, and there were kids sitting behind me, and they were sticking coffee stirrers into my hair. I don't know what they were trying to do, but it's just like that hair thing as a Black woman in America is so real. So it's just one of those things that was super real for me.
Well, for me, I am an Indian, born semi-raised there. I came here when I was about 4, and I faced racism because we came right after 9/11, and I never understood why people would look at my skin and call me really derogatory words. And I guess I always thought that racism wasn't for me. It wasn't about me. And I always thought it was a black and white thing until I got to high school, and they're like, no, there are more than 2 races. There are more than 2 races, and everyone is included, which is why we did the languages rise up in multiple, I think 7 different languages? I think
I
that's
don't
7.
even know, there were a lot.
So at this point, I realized that racism is not a black and a white issue. It is a you and a me issue. It is a local issue. It is a personal issue. It is an everyone issue. And I'm being friends with Claire, being on the debate team, being in an atmosphere where I'm surrounded by diversity. I have learned that everyone is beautiful regardless of their race, and I have learned that I am part of that.
This conference is about having courageous conversations, because sometimes it takes real courage to confront racism. Where do you find that courage to confront racism?
So, for me, I did not have it for a long time. I never wanted to talk about it because I wasn't sure if it was my place. And I'm a policy debater, and when we started talking about something called critical race theory, and I found it resonated with me, and I loved it, and I read about it, and it was so amazing and shocking that things like this existed. And I kept on reading it, and I kept on getting into it, and through that, I started standing up actually at tournaments instead of speaking about the regular policy we're supposed to be talking about. Me and my partner started discussing our struggles as Asian females. It was awesome. That courage in the debate round when the judge would look at us and say, "I loved it. That was your group. You keep on doing that." And every round we won just pushed us further. And people came up to us and they said, and me especially, they're like, "I love your affirmative. Can you help me make mine?" So that courage pushed me to do things like this. And then thank you, Miss Wallace, for finding me.
Stand up, Mrs. Wallace. Stand up. Rise up.
We definitely need to thank our SOAR leaders and our teachers that are here with us today. Mr. Stevenson is standing in the back, and Miss Patty Ford and Miss Gold. And so privileged to have them in our lives. Thank you.
This honestly just proves how important teachers are. Those 3 teachers right there have made my high school experience. So the reason I'm here, the reason any of this is happening, so you have
Mom. So the race conversation was kind of implanted in me before I even knew what race was. I remember getting the question a lot of, are you adopted? And I was like, well, no, that's my mom. And well, then why don't you look the same? And I couldn't answer that question. I didn't know how, I didn't have the language. I was like 5. So it's just that idea, like having that, you know, that idea implanted in me at a super young age, and then just as you experience the injustice in this world, you know that it's time to speak up. Like I said, my mom is white, and I generally identify as Black, and so the race conversation is like a daily dinner conversation for us. I would go to diversity training, and I would come back and like bring her the pack of videos. I'm like, Mom, look at this, look what I learned today. And so it was one of those things that it was just a reiterated topic, and that I knew that something wasn't quite right. I was missing something because I lack patience. So to try to be patient with everybody's level of consciousness has been hard for me. And when I went to Beyond Diversity, went to other diversity conferences, I learned how to be patient with everybody's level of consciousness, and I learned how to have that conversation in so much more of a healthy environment. And I think that my courage just comes from the people that surround me. My courage comes from my community and my family and my teachers and Justina.
I'm curious though, because there are a lot of people in this room who hear this story, and I need you both to know how much you've inspired me right now and how many people are inspired by what you said. But I'm curious. Folks in the room right now who may be afraid to be vulnerable and to be open in the way that you're being vulnerable and open right now, if you had to say one thing to them, you can take a second. What would it be? How would you give this room some courage to rise up in the way that it's very clear you both are continuing to rise?
For me, I definitely identified with Glenn as he talked about his faith, and God said, do not be afraid. And I am telling you all today, do not be afraid. This is a safe space, and everybody's story matters. We are here to uplift each other. We are here to uplift those who cannot uplift themselves. We can do this. And I know that it's scary. I'm terrified standing in front of all of you right now. But if I can get up here and do this and be vulnerable, you all can be vulnerable in your own space, in your own way. And it is okay to take your time, and it is okay to cry, and it is okay to have to, choke back tears and all those things, because everybody's gonna have a hard time, but the outcome is so incredibly worth it. I cannot even express it into words. We can all do this, and we will do it together.
Something really tough to follow. Okay, so a lot of people here might just not feel included, and Glenn said it doesn't matter, you already are if you're part of the conversation. So it doesn't matter what skin color you are, it doesn't matter your level of proficiency in these topics or whatever topics you're learning about. When we come here, we are not teachers, we are not students, we are not something else, we are people. And I think the most important part of all of this is that people are real. Race is a social construction. People are real. Gender is a social construction. People are real. Class is a social construction. So all of these things like this that divide us, you shouldn't let them, because you are real. You are not a social construction, and you matter. And the person next to you matters, and the person at the other table matters, and the person across the room who you've never seen before matters. So, you matter.
Wow. I just want to express gratitude, and I think the gratitude of the audience for teaching us so much and preparing us to rise up and to have these conversations. You two are just absolutely